Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice daily and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. Today's our last discussion about landing. What happens when the dice land and one is further than the other or one lands first? Okay? We're going to discuss what causes that, what we can do to fix it, and hopefully move on to our next series, which is the dice action, which will repeat several things that we're having problems with, and hopefully you see a problem whether you're seeing it in the air. You can pull that video up when you're seeing it land, what it looks like, and then lastly how the dice work and see what you can do to fix that. So we're talking about dice landing, and we're talking specifically today during my practice about how the dice will land one, either it really is one landing first. So if they're coming in 1, 2 like that, or one is further than the other. I mean, they may land at a different spot. All right, one lands. They don't land at the same time, but one may be way further than the other. One may be coming in short of the other, or the other way around, like this. So we're going to discuss what's causing that. And if you go back to my air videos, it's pretty much the same discussion about what we're talking about here for finger pressure. So most of these issues, if one is landing first, so when you're staring at your target zone and you're doing your routine, right? We're doing the pickup, turn, you're looking at your zone and you're throwing it, those landed together. But if one was landing first, what is causing that? Well, there's several things that could be doing. The main goal is that your fingers pressure may be off. And we talked about this in the air one, is even distribution. Even talked about this yesterday when the dice are splitting. Even distribution of your fingers. The most important part with a 3-fingered dice throw is making sure you have even pressure, whether it's the first or the third finger, or if you have pressure on one side or the other, or more importantly, your thumb. If your thumb is aligned a little more to the left or the right, it's not centered, that could cause a throw. So see, if I put my thumb just barely holding this way and I throw it, this is exaggeration, but one's going to go further than the other. And we're going to want to make sure when we're throwing the dice that our even pressures are so important. So that gets back to making sure your ledge is fine. This is going back to our throw practices when we're looking at the mirror or making sure our ledge is fine, and then our pickup, making sure when we do that turn in the pickup that these dice are laying nice and even across those fingers. There's no pressure on one side or the other. So if one is going off, it's because one of these fingers either released, right, or the pressure was almost not on that side. So the distribution pressure was not the same as the other finger. It has to be identical. And to avoid that, when you're doing the ledge, as you're looking down over your dice, right, and you're looking down, I kind of do a little wiggle, just a little wiggle, just to make sure those dice are nice, evenly distributed. It's just a little wiggle. One, to keep making sure they're tight. So if you do a little wiggle like this, it'll keep those dice, make sure those dice are on your fingers right where you want them. and then your release, they'll go together. And that's what you want. You want that ledge, the centrifugal force to take it off, but you're also making sure that the ledge is there for it to go off. If one is landing higher, watch, I did this in the other video. I'm just going to lift this one finger up and throw. See, the one dice lands before the other dice because there was no pressure on this side at all. So I exaggerate that, of course, and we're talking about micromillimeters of data. So to try and keep this as non-random as possible, get back to the basics of practicing that turn and just making sure that those three dice, those three fingers are tight together, they're creating a ledge, and is the right amount of pressure, and then is your thumb centered, right? Is your thumb centered on that throw, not one way or another that would cause the dice, like, you see how one went up and one went down? The thumb was on one side. So it may be your pressure, it could be your thumb, and those are the things you want to practice when you're doing your practicing. If you're recognizing your videotaping, you're seeing one higher than the other, then you know that this is a finger pressure issue and you can get back to it. What happens when you're on the table, though, and you're seeing one land first before the other? We don't want you going crazy with the corrections at that time. You got to get back to just your mental and physical game, and don't overthink it. Just recognize one landed more than the other. Let's make sure when I get up here and I grab my dice that my ledge is fine, right? A little wiggle. You can just, a little wiggle. When I'm looking straight down on these dice, I'm not seeing any of the edges in any direction. When I'm coming straight down on here, I am looking straight down. I cannot see any other issues. I'm just looking and seeing two squares looking straight down. And I'm just doing a little wiggle to make sure that they're even. And then my pressure, I'm relaxing. So on my throw, see, together. They went together and they landed together. So the basic problems when you're at the casino floor, if you're seeing one land higher, one first, or one going out far from your throw, that's an issue with your pressure of your ledge and your thumb. And you can correct that just going back to basics and throwing. Now, if you're practicing every day and you're seeing that, that's that morning issue that I am going to do my turn a lot more. I'm going to do more than 9. I may do 18 that day because the day before I was seeing one dice higher than the other. So that turn is going to be that wiggle. So when I throw, they're landing together. That's going to be my practice for the next day. So the two issues that you may have with one going down or one going further than the other is just basic pressure. Pressure on the three fingers, pressure on the thumb, making sure they're even distributed, and that you're just going back to basics with your throw so that you're not releasing with the fingers, right? So those are the important things that you want to recognize when there's a problem with your throw. And when we're done with this landing part, we've talked about when they land to the left, we've talked about when they land to the right or they miss the target, what's causing that, your upper body or your fingers or your thumb. The whole series tomorrow and for the next few days is what happens when those dice land. Like what happens when the dice go all the way to the right or all the way to the left, or if they super spin and just go everywhere. We're going to diagnose each one of those and discuss that so that when you see those dice fly, you know what happened in that throw and you hopefully can correct it. So as always, I hope you join me and just realize that the best batting strategy is to practice all of these throws on a daily basis so you can throw for a long, long time.